All right, so we are here with Jim Feldman, probably one of the most interesting men I've ever had the pleasure to meet. He has more acronyms at the end of his name than there are letters in the Greek alphabet. What is your latest certification, Jim? I'm always curious. What is the latest one you have?
I am a certified shopping center expert in real estate.
Brilliant.
Yes, as part of my managing brokers continuing education, they had some electives. And so I took three electives for areas that I had some experience and some expertise, but now I've been certified to have that expertise. And so if I really wanted to add some more letters after my name, I think there'd be nine more letters.
Wow. Okay. Well, but that's not what we're here to talk about today.
Right?
First, not only do you collect letters, you're also great on the stage. I've seen you on the stage. You're really engaging, a lot of fun on the stage. One of the things in your history, and I see the AI concierge on your backdrop there, but your history was really in hospitality, like up until like I guess the you started learning all the stuff about AI, right?
Well, what happened is that when we were doing work with Toyota, incentives, motivations, we were running out of merchandise and they started talking about travel. So I got into travel and literally created a product which allowed me to send someone on a trip without being part of a group. And that became known as individual incentive travel. And I got the accolade of being one of the most innovative people of the 21st century by creating that product. And it took the industry and basically brought in something in excess of $500 million of revenue to that industry from the product I created.
And that's not the first time you've been recognized for this kind of stuff. Like you know, one of the great stories you told me was the razor story about how you helped McDonald's launch their breakfast menu back in the 70s.
Yes. Basically, we started with McDonald's when they were just doing their lunch. And then they started to look at what they refer to as other day parts. And the other day parts were evening and breakfast. And so the first thing that we did with breakfast is we made a deal with Gillette, and they had a new pen out called Flair. And so the promotion was breakfast with a flair. And we went through 150 million Flair pens.
You know, it's like everybody, you know, I love this. So when people are bringing in speakers, right? Everybody's like, "Oh, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've done this." But like you are legit when it comes to when it comes to great stories. Like I can sit here, you know, just to share with the audience, you know, Jim and I work together on a couple of different projects. And a lot of times we set a meeting to talk about one of the projects we're on, and we just kind of drift off because he has this great story or an anecdote that just says, I want to hear the end of it. And that's the kind of speaker he is. When he's on stage, you just want to hear the end of it. Not that it's you want it to be over. You just want, but you want to hear the story. The stories are great. They're really enlightening, and there's a lot of energy in there. They're a lot of fun. What other industries do you like to work with, or have you worked with, or spoken to? I guess is because this is a speaking podcast.
Well, Toyota was my first major client. They really built my business. And because they were in Southern California and I was getting enough business from Toyota, I started going out there frequently. And at the time, there was an airline called Jet America. And Jet America had a ticket one way from Chicago to Long Beach for $100. And so I would fly out for lunch. I would fly out to have a meeting and turn around and fly back. And then somebody said, well, while you're here, why don't you go see my friend at XYZ? And XYZ turned out to be Vidal Sassoon. Vidal Sassoon turned out to be Knutson. Knutson turned out to be Neutrogena. So started building my business in Chicago with Southern California clients. And each one of them had their own unique language, their own unique problems, and I became the problem solver. And so one of the things that I did is I made a sign that said, in case of emergency, call this 800 number. And I gave it to everybody in purchasing in all of these companies. And they hung it on their wall. And they would call up and say, Jim, we got a problem with white grease. What do you know about white grease? I didn't even know what white grease was. Turns out that white grease was the grease you put on the hinges of car doors. and you've seen it
Okay.
in, and it was always a mess. So they wanted a
Yeah.
private label white grease. So I found a manufacturer in Florida that made white grease, and he said, "Well, what about my other products?" Well, like what? Well, I make silicone spray and so forth, and then I make, which is like a WD-40, and then he made a vinyl you put on your dashboard to make it shine. So I made a deal with him to be his rep. Then I took it back to Toyota, and Toyota paid me to come up with the supply chain. So I got money from Toyota and I got money from the manufacturer on both sides.
You know, what's the movie with Peter Sellers that he's like in the right spot at the right time and all and
Yes,
throughout
yes,
history?
yes.
It's like I almost feel there's a bit of that to your life. It's so interesting. But tell me about the actual transition from being a consultant to a speaker and how to and creating a speaking business outside of just doing consulting with corporate clients.
Came as pure accident. The only thing I did well with in college was public speaking as a class. And my money making was photography. And so one of the things that I started doing was making 35 millimeter slides for other people. And at the time, that was a Kodak carousel projector filled with 80 slides, etc. And I did this project for a tire company that was coming down to Champaign to have their dealer sales meeting. And the speaker got snowed into Chicago. And they were going to cancel the meeting, even though everybody was already there. And I went to the meeting planner and I said, "You can't cancel it. These people are there. You've already spent the money. I'll do the speech." He said, "What do you know about tires?" I said, "Nothing." He says, "Well, how can you give the speech?" I said, "You didn't ask me what I knew about the speech. I know the speech backwards and forwards." He says, "Well, what if they ask you any questions?" I said, "Well, I'm not taking any questions. I'm done with the speech." I gave the speech and I got a standing ovation. And the guy came back to me and he said, "That was great. Here's a check for $2,500." And I said, "Wait a second. You were paying the speaker $5,000. I know that. Why am I getting 2,500?" Because, "Well, you're not a professional." I said, "The audience didn't know that. Either you pay me the $5,000 or I'm going to wander around out here and tell people that you shortchanged me 2,500 bucks. And I don't think that's going to go over." He said, "Well, that's blackmail." I said, "No, that's just good business. It's called PR. Now, what are we going to do?" He said, "Okay, we'll go get you the rest of the money." And then I realized that I could get $5,000 for 60 minutes. And I thought that was the best idea I'd ever come with. And that's how I got into speaking.
So now, who are the primary audiences that you would generally speak to when you go out there when you're looking for engagements?
So typically, associations have been my biggest target because for an association, it's what I refer to as a target rich audience. Their members are also potential customers. As opposed to talking to a single corporation, then you're talking to just divisions or people within the same organization. Where an association is much broader, and many of the people that are attending the association belong to other associations. So, as an example, I got called to be a speaker for the Cremation Association of North America. And I said to the guy who called me, "I'm Jewish. Jewish people don't get cremated." He goes, "Do your homework." Yes, they do, if they're reform. So I did my homework, and it turns out he called me back and says, "What do you think?" I said, "Well, this is fascinating. I'll take it." And I went out and interviewed 100 funeral directors, either by phone or in person. And I ran the speech by them. I asked them what they liked, what they didn't like, what were the buzzwords, what was the specific language. And I was the second keynote speaker. There was an opening speaker and then me as the luncheon speaker. The opening keynote speaker was a very famous person from NSA. And that speaker never used the language. She refers to the ashes. They're not ashes, they're cremated remains. She referred to them as customers. They're not customers, they're families. So when I got up there, I was using their lexicon and their language. And I got a standing ovation, which that other speaker did not get. Fella came up to me and he said, "Son, how long have you been in the cremation business?" I said, "Including this speech, about 48 minutes." And he said, "You nailed it. It was absolutely," he says, "I am on this board. We would like you to be our keynote speaker." And it turned out I got 11 speaking engagements from that one presentation.
So, and it sounds like a lot of that comes down to the research before the speech. I think a lot of speakers think that as long as I'm an expert on my topic, that's enough. I can get up and I can just give this rote speech that's on my topic. But for you, it seems the success comes from doing the research and doing the interviews. How much would you encourage other speakers to try and do something similar to that? I suppose not be that famous NSA speaker, NSA being the National Speakers Association, who did not do the research.
I research every single talk that I give. I customize the language. If you're not talking to the audience in their language, then they don't hear you. The moment that speaker said ashes, I saw people looking at one another going, that person didn't do their homework. And it's critical. I have been on stages where very, very successful speakers didn't do any customization, didn't do their homework, didn't speak their language. And you could see from the audience's reaction. I have a very simple philosophy. My role is to make the meeting planner look good, not me. Because when I leave, I'm gone. That meeting planner is still there. I want that meeting planner to walk away with everybody going, wow, Feldman was great. Wow, Feldman learned about our business. Wow, Feldman gave me some ideas that I could use. Thank you so much for bringing Feldman in. That's my goal. And as long as I continue to stay focused on the what I refer to as what's in it for me, meaning the meeting planner and the audience, then I get hired. And you can see even now my most recent use of a product called Talkadot, where you can get audience reactions. I have over 700 people that gave me 100% ratings. They don't know me, they only heard me speak one time, and yet I somehow connected with them and they were generous enough to say, OMG. And that's my goal.
Now you did say you spoke to 100 funeral directors or people in the industry. For speakers that are watching this now, how do you go about finding those 100? What is the process to say, how do I find the 100 people to do the research? Because I love the idea of doing it. And does it have to be 100? Could it be 10? Could it be 5?
So I'm going to make it real easy. The meeting planner is the answer. So you say to the meeting planner, I'd like 3 lists. List number 1 is the current board of directors. List number 2 is last year's board of directors. And list number 3 is who are the people that are going to be the most difficult, the people that are sitting there with their arms crossed in the audience, that are saying, what does this guy know and why am I here and when am I going to go get my croissant and my coffee because he's wasting my time? Give me that list, and I will turn that into 100 or 50 or 25 advocates. Because I will say, when I was talking to Aiden and he told me he had this problem, I thought other people in the room might have the same problem. Let me share the problem and the solution. And you can see in the audience people sitting up, taking notes, talking to one another, high fiving, and going, this guy gets it. And that's the goal at the end of it. Do your homework, and you will get hired back, not necessarily by that group, but you will get hired back by people in the audience. And then they will say, bring Feldman back in 2 years or bring Feldman back in 5 years, whatever their turnaround is. And I get a lot of repeat business that way.
Oh, that's fantastic. Is there any message you'd want to give to planners or decision makers that watch it before we throw to your showcase video, which if you guys want to see the showcase video, the link is actually below in the YouTube description or in the podcast description. We do have a direct link to Jim's showcase before we just cut into it. But I do want to say that it is there. And it does include Jim's phone number, his website, his email address. You work directly with Jim, and so you get to skip the middleman and or bureaus or anything. You just go straight. You contact Jim. You can book Jim. He's a great guy and very easy to work with.
So, to the meeting planner, I would say there's really one question. Are you customizing the material to our audience? Or are you just doing off the shelf? I had a conversation with a very famous speaker and I heard him speak. I heard him speak again. I heard him speak a third time at 3 different audiences. It was the identical speech. And I
Mm.
said to him afterwards, I've heard this 3 times. I can do your speech. I said, why are you doing the same speech? He goes, why do I need to customize it? They're never going to hire me back again. I'm just going to find different audiences. So his business model was finding different audiences. My business model is having the audience become evangelists about spreading the word about Jim Feldman. And that's a different business model.
It's a great business model. All right, Jim. Well, thanks very much. Is there anything else you want to just point out before we leave? Before we throw to the clip? 8 minutes of pure gold, as they say.
I would say that if you're not using AI, your competition is. If you're afraid of AI, don't be afraid. There is a way to use it. I am a single source solution. I am available to help you with it. But consider this, it's more powerful than the internet, electricity, and in our lifetime, probably the most powerful thing we've ever seen for us to use. Use AI. I refer to it as assisted insights or adult instruction. Don't turn it into a robot, turn it into an assistant.
Love it. Love it. All right. So here we go. Here is Jim's 8 minute showcase video. Stick around to the end. It's a great video. You're gonna love it. The content is good and his delivery is fantastic. And he's just one of the most fascinating people you will ever have in any room. Thank you very much, Jim.
Thank you. Pleasure.
Let's move on to James Feldman, CSP. He is a transformation growth advisor who turns challenges into solutions for associations looking to revitalize, reinvigorate, and reimagine their future with his customized programs. I give you Jim Feldman.
Thanks for that introduction, Ed. Let me ask your viewers a question. Do you have too much month at the end of your money? Would you like to have an assistant that would help you with your membership acquisition and retention? Would you like to have an assistant that could help you and your members create competitive differentiation? Well, welcome to the world of AI. AI and ChatGPT has infinite possibilities. It'll help you realize your potential and create results. If I could show you and your members how to leverage the power of ChatGPT and AI for your competitive differentiation, would you be interested? Would you be interested in a customized presentation that targets your needs and your member expectations, addressing the question of what's in it for me? The CEO of Microsoft said AI is more important than the power of electricity in our lifetime. I'm going to address the problems that we're all going to try to solve and show you how ChatGPT can become your answer. We all have problems. The problems are vast. They don't stop. Broken items, long wait times, unhappy customers, incorrect orders, billing errors, and a confusing website are just a couple of them. And along with that, we're all making promises. Promises to our customers, promises to our members. And those promises need to be kept. When you have proof that you kept your promises, when you understand how you compare to other associations and how your members compare to their competitors, you can start to think about 100% satisfaction, money back guarantee, which all consumers are demanding today. I'm going to help you use ChatGPT to create an irresistible offer, an offer that's so compelling that it's more painful to walk away than to make the purchase. And we want it now. I'm the nowist, not the futurist. I talk about what we can do today to leverage the power of ChatGPT and AI for your association. Remember, our P's are the problem, the promise, the proof, the powerful offer, doing it today to help increase our profit. That's the puzzle. The way to solve it is to use ChatGPT. And ChatGPT is part of AI. AI has hundreds of sources out there, and they're all wonderful, but you cannot possibly learn all of them. That's where I can help you and your association, because my customized presentations focus on what you can do now to create your competitive differentiation for your association and your members. Say hello to my little friend, ChatGPT. ChatGPT got 1 million users within 1 month. No, within 5 days of being out there. Think about it. We would have thought a month is a fast time. 5 days, less than a week. So learn to leverage that power. Your competitors are. You're not going to be replaced by ChatGPT and AI, but you are going to be replaced by those people that are leveraging the power of ChatGPT and AI, and you need to be one of them leveraging that power. ChatGPT is an assistant that understands 39 languages, has all kinds of college degrees, incredibly smart, but doesn't check its own work, has no emotion, and never run a business. It's never going to replace you, but it can make you smarter, faster, and more efficient. ChatGPT has speed, and that is not going to break the bank and not going to be difficult if someone like me can help you understand how to leverage that power. What do we do with it? We can write content for almost everything. Member benefits, member acquisition, social media, white papers, etc. But that's just one little thing. It can help generate leads. It can help expand the market. It can help you understand data and analyze it for you. It can improve your communications at all levels. It can do better research faster, more efficiently. And it has training and education components to make you build courses almost instantaneously. It'll help you be more innovative. It'll give you problem-solving ability like you've never had before. And it's scalable using ChatGPT. So you need to focus, focus, focus. You know, it's like going to Costco's. You go there to buy a hot dog because we know it's $1.50. You sometimes go there to buy a chicken because that's really a good deal. But when you're there, they give you choices and you lose your focus. Think about it. You go to Costco's and the only way to be efficient is with a shopping list. You walk down the aisles and suddenly you end up with several $100s in your cart and you don't know how it got there because you didn't follow the list. I'm going to help you and your members create the list so that you can leverage the power of ChatGPT. Remember this. You may be the fastest one in the foot race, but you're never going to catch the Porsche. So for me, I have a very simple question. Are you ready to leverage the power of ChatGPT until you achieve the desired income? Are you going to let what you think you know prevent you from learning what you need to know? I'm James Feldman, and I'm here to help you leverage the power of ChatGPT. The difference between try and triumph is a little oomph using ChatGPT.
Thank you, Jim. Appreciate that.